Now, what is that talking about? The blood of Jezreel. Let's go back to the story in 2 Kings. Jehu kills all of the sons, all of the offspring of Ahab and Jezebel, and some others. There are messengers from the northern tribe, or from the southern kingdom of Judah, that come to meet with Jehu, 41 of them, and he kills them all. So here Hosea is saying, I will put an end to the kingdom of the house of Israel for the blood of Jezreel. So there's historic bloodletting, as well as possibly a mention here of the practice of child sacrifice. So the blood of Jezreel means the practice of child sacrifice, which some of the Canaanite gods demanded. It's not sure. Hosea doesn't say that specifically, but some historians and commentators say that that might be a reference there. And verse 5, on that day I will break the bow of Israel in the valley of Jezreel. So there's going to be some military conquest of the northern tribes. Going on, she conceived again and bore him a daughter. Then the Lord said to Hosea, name her Lo-Ruhamah, which means no pity. Lo is no or not. Ruhamah, pitied. For I will no longer have pity on the house of Israel or forgive them, but I will have pity on the house of Judah. Remember, that's a southern nation. And they too are engaging in idolatrous practices at this time as well. And I will save them by the Lord their God. I will not save by the bow or by the sword or by war or by horses or by horsemen. When she had weaned Lo-Ruhamah, she conceived and bore a son. Then the Lord said, name him Lo-Ami, which means not my people. For you are not my people, and I am not your God. Wow. Going on. Yet the number of the people of Israel shall be like the sand of the sea, which can neither be measured or numbered. And in the place where it was said to them, you are not my people, it shall be said to them, children of the living God. So this is kind of a contradiction. This means that you're going to be conquered, but at some point in the future, you will be called my people, children of the living God. Then he goes on, verse 11, the people of Judah and the people of Israel shall be gathered together, and they shall appoint for themselves one head, and they shall take possession of the land, for great shall be the day of Jezreel. Jezreel, again, being the northern capital. So in the time that Hosea is saying this, there are two kingdoms. There's the northern kingdom with Jeroboam II. There's the southern kingdom, who had a different king, King Uzziah. And yet, Hosea is saying, the northern kingdom will be conquered, but there's a day where they will both be united by one king. No idea when or where that was going to be. What we know historically is the northern kingdoms were conquered by the Assyrians, and there was never again a king in the northern kingdom. The southern kingdom later on was conquered by the Babylonians, and there was never again a king in the southern kingdom of Judah. And so this promise of a king that's going to unite the northern and the southern kingdom remained to be fulfilled. And that started kind of the understanding of the Messiah and the king that was to come. This prophecy points towards that. Remember, Hosea was written well before, hundreds of years, maybe 800 years before the time of Christ. Chapter 2, moving along. Say to your brother Ami and to your sister Ruhama. Now remember, chapter 1, they're called Lo Ami and Lo Ruhama. And here they're called my people and pitied. Verse 2, plead with your mother, plead, for she is not my wife, and I am not her husband. Remember, this is Gomer, the prostitute, who has been taken in as a wife of Hosea. Plead with her that she put away her whoring from her face and her adultery from between her breasts, or I will strip her naked and expose her as on the day when she was born, and make her like a wilderness, and turn her into a parched land, and kill her with thirst. Here, God is comparing this prostitute to the nation of Israel and saying, I am like your husband, and this prostitute is like you. You've gone off after false gods. You've prostituted yourself. But there's going to be a price for that. One day you're going to be cast out in the wilderness in a parched land. Verse 4, upon her children also I will have no pity, Lo Ruhama, because they are children of whoredom, for their mother has played the whore. She who conceived them has acted shamefully. So there might have been an actual autobiographical note to this, because Hosea may have been left by his prostitute wife. We're not sure. It doesn't say in the book. But from what we'll read later, that may have been the case. It goes on, for she said, I will go after my lovers. They will give me my bread and my water, my wool and my flax, my oil and my drink. Therefore I will hedge up her way with thorns, and will build a wall against her so that she cannot find her paths. Verse 7, she shall pursue her lovers, but not overtake them, and she shall seek them, but shall not find them. So the lovers in this case are the other nations surrounding Israel. Egypt, Assyria, Moab, Edom. There were other small kingdoms that also had idol worship, and so this might be a reference to them. Then she shall say, I will go and return to my first husband, for it was better with me than now. She did not know that it was I who gave her the grain, the wine, and the oil, and who lavished upon her silver and gold that they used for Baal. Now, Baal was the Canaanite god. Baal actually means Lord or Master. And so this was the high god of the Canaanites. Verse 9, therefore I will take back my grain in its time, and my wine in its season, and I will take away my wool and my flax, which were to cover her nakedness. Now I will uncover her shame in the light of her lovers, and no one shall rescue her out of my hand. I will put an end to all her mirth, her festivals, her new moons, her Sabbaths, and all her appointed feasts. Now the new moons and the Sabbaths were part of the Torah. They were part of the worship of Israel. And so he's saying, I'm going to take away that true worship even from you. I will lay waste her vines and her fig trees, of which she said, they are my pay, which my lovers have given me. So he's saying, that which you thought came from those other kingdoms, I'm going to show that it really came from me, and you're not going to have it anymore. I will make them a forest, and the wild animals shall devour them. Verse 13. I will punish her for the festival days of the Baals, when she offered incense to them and decked herself with her ring and jewelry, and went after her lovers and forgot me, says the Lord. Therefore I will now allure her and bring her into the wilderness and speak tenderly to her. From there I will give her her vineyards and make a valley of Achor a door of hope. There she shall respond as in the days of her youth, as at the time when she came out of the land of Egypt. That's a clear reference to the Exodus event. And so here God is saying, I'm going to woo Israel as I did at first. On that day, says the Lord, you will call to me my husband, and no longer will you call me my Baal, my Lord, my master. A play on words of the false god Baal and the true name of the Lord. Verse 17, for I will remove the names of the Baals from her mouth, and they shall be mentioned by name no more. I will make for you a covenant on the days with the wild animals, the birds of the air, and the creeping things of the ground, and I will abolish the bow, the sword, and war from the land. And here we have this picture of peace and prosperity when they return to their God. And I will make you lie down in safety. Verse 19, and I will take you for my wife forever. I will take you for my wife in righteousness and in justice, in steadfast love and in mercy. I will take you for my wife in faithfulness, and you shall know the Lord. Now this is interesting because at this time, the romantic notion of marriage really didn't exist. It was more of an economic transaction. You got yourself a wife, you paid a dowry, that wife became part of your possessions, so to speak, and she served you. And yet here we have this more romantic notion of God wooing the people of Israel as a lover, in a sense. Verse 21. On the day I will answer, says the Lord. I will answer the heavens, and they shall answer the earth, and the earth shall answer the grain, the wine, and the oil, and they shall answer Jezreel, again, that northern capital. And I will sow him for myself in the land. Remember, Jezreel means God sows. So here's a play on the word Jezreel. And I will have pity on Lo Ruhamah, on no pity. And I will say to Lo Ami, not my people, you are my people. And he shall say, you are my God. Now we come to chapter 3. The Lord said to me again, go, love a woman who has a lover and is an adulteress, just as the Lord loves the people of Israel, though they turn to other gods and love raisin cakes. And so it's unsure whether this is the same woman or a different woman, a different prostitute. Some commentaries feel that Gomer left Hosea, and Hosea pursued her and brought her back. So in verse 2, so I bought her for 15 shekels of silver and a homer of barley and a measure of wine. That's not a lot of money. In fact, it is the price of a slave, from what I've read in some commentaries. So she's bought as a slave, so to speak, and yet she is now again Hosea's wife. Verse 3, and I said to her, you must remain as mine for many days. You shall not play the whore. You shall not have intercourse with a man, nor will I with you. For the Israelites shall remain many days without king or prince, without sacrifice or pillar, without ephod or teraphim. Those are things that the high priest would wear in the temple during sacrifices. Afterward, the Israelites shall return and seek the Lord their God and David their king. Once again, they have left David and Judah and the kingdom of David, and they've created this new kingdom. But this prophecy says they will return to David their king. They shall come in awe to the Lord and to his goodness in the latter days. So once again, Hosea being one of the earliest written prophets in the Old Testament, and there's this reference to the latter days. It's not defined. At some point in the future, in the days to come, the latter days, there will be one kingdom and one king. And so we come to the end of Hosea chapter 3. And I look forward to discussing all this with you when we meet on Zoom.